Folks, something is rotten in the state of Brazil. You can see it right here. We are currently in a phase of uncertainty and instability. I'm looking very much forward to continuing this playthrough here today, because I think today we're going to get a bulk of the rule of Pedro II done. We're looking at a decent, it could be better, but a decent standing in the Magnanimous Monarch journal entry, and then at a really good standing here in the matter of slavery. Now, I will say that currently we're not enforcing the ban at all. That may be changing in this particular episode if the intelligentsia were to calm down enough, but I understand that they are agitated because we have been more conservative than ultimately they would have liked. No matter how we look at this though, our one and only enemy right now are the industrialists. They are positivists and they have cost me a Pedro point, which means that we have been set back here and are now indeed at risk of actually losing the monarchy if Pedro II were to pass away. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I took a look at this and I checked out in particular the investment pool. If you want to know where the industrialists are powerful, you need to trace where they are getting their money from. And in this case, we can very clearly see that it primarily comes from the logging camps. If we take a look at the entire rest here, I think even the furniture, I think the textile mills are one of the few where, yep, there are capitalists here indeed, and I can't really change that because of the dye workshops. But essentially what I'm looking at here is a reality where most of the money that the industrialists have to agitate against the emperor stem from these little babies right here. And I can't change that. I'm gonna go ahead and say I will indeed transition this to just having simple forestry that makes it so that there are no actual capitalists in this building. I'm not sure by how much we're going to cut their power right here. I actually also have to go ahead put one of these to hardwood production. We're going to go ahead and build more of the logging camps now so that we can make up for the losses we just had here in terms of productivity. And then we're going to take a look at what the industrialists are actually do. Oh my god. They actually dropped by about half. They're down to 5.0% now. 4.8, 4.6. I think I could have stopped myself from losing that Pedro point. If I had checked that their entire power base was quite literally down to just the logging camps, I could have done this already. Oh my god. Well, listen, vengeance is sweet. If we get them below 4%, they will be marginalized, hopefully to reappear only under a different leadership. I would basically describe this as a conspiracy within the logging industry of Brazil. The emperor comes down with a hammer, and all of a sudden, all of the old ownership is gone. Oh, and there you go. Power of the purse has now been unlocked. And that, of course, means that we are looking at, a new ability right here in our naval bases. That is fine. But most importantly, this journal entry right here. On behalf of our officers, Admiral Grenfell reminds the government of the importance of maintaining Brazilian sea power. We must strive to be the foremost naval power in South America and among the greatest in the world. My emperor, I would urge you to consider more than your domestic state. Land armies win battles indeed, but it is your naval vessels that win you empires. Britain's very success depended upon such a stern armada, and he won't find a stern armada amongst the remnants of our father's sorry vessel. Well, why? It's barely even firewood. And your captains deserve better ships than rotting hulks of driftwood. The Navy protects our wealth and cares for our people. This is a really interesting journal entry because, of course, this is exactly how it happened historically. The Brazilians essentially said to rule these waters means to get supremacy over the entire continent of South America. And that is exactly what we are trying to achieve here. You can see I already slightly built up the Navy. There are more units coming, it just takes a long time recruiting them. Basically, this journal entry requires us to be one of the top 10 countries right now to actually have a big Navy. And then we will, get this fill up over, I think, 40 years is how long it is. That's a long time. But over 40 years, we will fill this up and then be in a position where we get this, trigger the event Sovereignty at Sea, which means that we have sea supremacy, and get a positive point for Magnanimous Monarch. So this is definitely something that I want to look into. The pride of the nation is the Navy, and most importantly, during the war against Peru-Bolivia, we already noticed that these people here don't produce enough in terms of, arms manufacturers, in terms of, for example, even normal goods like groceries. If we blockade them, they are done for, and of course, that makes them our vassals, if nothing else. So I'm going to keep building up this Navy. It's very important to me that we actually do succeed with this goal right here. And you know what, let me just check this. If we go into the ledger and we take a look at the military, we can see in terms of flotillas, we are pretty far behind, but I mean, okay, fair enough. Egypt and such will drift further into just being completely irrelevant going forward, and we will rise up. That is the whole point of this. You know, I actually really hate these modifiers right here. We get additional hardwood output in everything related to the Amazon forest, and it's just so bad. You never need that much hardwood. That really, I think, needs to be rebalanced. Yeah, this is just completely useless. I would like to, you know, pump some more workforce, some more building levels in here, but getting more hardwood output, I mean, yeah, that's not really it. And the British are back. The British are back. Yep, they are completely demolishing our troops even more. And the big question that I now have is, historically speaking, Pedro II essentially in 1850 said, I'm gonna step down unless you limit the slave trade once and for all. And you can see this is considered a bit of a lateral move by our landowners. They don't really care. We could theoretically do this. I would love to do this with the backing of the intelligentsia. The question is just, will the industrialists actually be around to be in the Liberal Party? We are completely demolishing them now, so chances are they might even fall into marginalized. That is going to be interesting to see. But I think what we can do for the time being is just take a quick look at this. When you take a look at these slaves right here, we have 30% of our population as slaves. That is 1.73 million slaves. At the game start, I believe it is like 1.10 million slaves, and it's about 25%. So you can see the slave trade is flourishing despite the intervention of Britain. It's pretty extreme. Oh, and baby, the industrialists have actually been marginalized. Yeah, the repression of the industrialists here has been incredibly powerful. You know, I would really like it if I could build these textile mills up, but the dye, I mean, we have it available. The question is just, do I want to risk the capitalists getting more power here? I think I'm going to import textiles and try to export as many dyes as I humanly can. Let's just send them into the Prussian market. And once more, the British are indeed seizing slave boats in Brazilian waters. Now, I will reiterate, the Emperor is very much against slave trade and against slavery as a whole. But quite frankly, this is an attack on Brazilian sovereignty that we cannot accept. I will rattle my sabers at these insolent Brits. Yeah, our naval projection here is big enough to do that. But I do think that this pushes us kind of into the direction where we just have to start reforming. I'm going to wait until the next election, and then we're going to see how the Liberal Party, without the industrialists, actually performs. Oh, I think the Conservatives are going to eat them up, because the Catholic Church will now join the Conservatives. We're going to take a look at this. I would like to indeed change the law when it comes to this so that Britain leaves us alone and so that we are slightly less immoral. Oh, and yeah, look at that. We haven't built up our navy fast enough, so now contested waters has triggered for us. In a scathing critique of the government, Admiral Grenfell, the person that is now very popular because he wants to build the very first and massive Brazilian navy, has made public the Admiralty's disappointment that our navy is eclipsed by such unworthy powers as the French Republic. I mean, they are significantly bigger than us, but hey, listen, don't let that stop you. This is a national humiliation for our armed forces. It's an outrage, man, an outrage. These pompous French fools would mock Brazil and debase your men. Surely a constitutional empire is one of respect, Pedro. Take it back from them. Yeah, that makes them dislike us. They aren't that important. I'm actually disappointed. The armed forces really must be much more important here. I need them to recruit faster. I think that is ultimately everything that I can say here, because we have built this up. It's just that, my god, they're recruiting so slowly. It's because the only people that could actually join up in the naval base are people that are literate to be officers, and that's really only the aristocrats that are making mad bank over here. So what I'm gonna do is, I could put down a decree, but you know what? I would like to, I think after the next election, whether we do slavery or not, we're gonna move towards education. We need people that are just a bit more there, that are capable of really leading this nation to greatness. Oh my god. The Liberal Party has tanked. We are almost a one-party state. This is because, well, the industrialists are gone and the church has left the Liberal Party. Ooh, yeah. For better and for worse, the incredibly anti-status quo liberals have been eviscerated. And now, party-affiliated newspapers have been proliferating during this election season. Publications associated with the Conservative Party have been particularly effective in spreading the party line. Wow, it's even gonna get worse, but that didn't really do much of a change. Yeah, we are looking at essentially a very smart and a relatively reformist, not too reactionary Conservative Party leading Brazil, maybe for decades to come. 84%. 84.9% have voted Conservative. Whew. And now they all, even the petite bourgeoisie abandoned the liberals because they're all monarchists. They are all royalists. I love this. Pedro II here really has to be thankful to his friend Luis because, my God, every single person here has seen basically the fraud of the industrialists that said that they would be the new lords of these lands, separate from the aristocracy, and now they have been eviscerated. They may come back in due time because, hey, 4.4% is not that far away from 5%, but that doesn't matter. We have the very first righteous government in this playthrough, and it is thanks to the conservatives. What we're going to do now, I think, is move towards schools. I was talking about it, and I do believe in this. I think religious schools is better than no schools, and the church has now become an ardent supporter of the monarchy. So indeed, let's pass this law and let's ensure that, our people will get a bit better when it comes to becoming officers and all that. And now, by unlocking intensive agriculture, we have unlocked yet another journal entry, a trickle of beans. Brazil holds vast potential, a large expanse of arable land and a perfect climate for the growth of valuable cash crops. This wealth may hold the key to resolving the precarious situation of the Brazilian economy post-independence. At full extent, the total area once controlled by Portugal stretched over a fifth of the continent. Brazil now stretches over those lands, with Venice waterways feeding savannas, wetlands, rainforests, rolling hills and mountains alike. Given the right field of life, anything known to man could grow somewhere here. But such vastness would need time, effort and a river of blood to be tamed for use. Order and progress will not wait for long. I want an expert economy. Now, the important part about this journal entry is that this will allow us to indeed integrate the Paulistas, which we desperately want to do, but we need to sell a lot more coffee. And selling coffee this early into the game is difficult, in particular if our, there it is, trade route competitiveness minus 20, minus 10%, and I think that is it. It's bad. It's just not good. I need to get rid of the penalties that Great Britain is currently imposing on us, and I need to become a real export economy. I will go ahead with this modifier right here rather than the modifier that makes the landowners happy. I think we can do fine without that. I primarily care about the idea that we have to now sell as much coffee as possible. And I'm going to do this right away by just starting all of these routes. Even if they're negative, I will subsidize the trade centers. That is fine. We just need more purchasing power inside of our market, and sometimes foreign trade routes can do that. I have also, by the way, very much on purpose, built beyond the available employment right here in Sao Paulo. Everybody is employed. It could be better, it could be worse. Don't worry about it too much. But this additional level of basically open jobs makes it so that we get more and more for migration attraction. I need mass migrations, and I need them soon. Oh, and there is some chaos in this world that I would like to exploit long-term as well. I'm not sure that I can do it right away, but since the British took Hong Kong, this has now destabilized the Great Qing and the Heavenly Kingdom has emerged. This will be, doubtlessly, an unbelievably bloody war. The big question that I have, I mean, right now it really does look like the Great Qing is going to win this. If they win it, and yeah, look at all these battles, they are indeed succeeding right here. If they win it, that still means that the Great Qing is at what, 1, 2, 3, probably 3 or 4 explosion points. If they do explode, we can exploit that. And there we have religious schools. Finally, I will now be able to pump up these numbers. You can see the significant dip here while the church was against us, which makes it so that the education access goes down significantly. And now we should finally, hopefully, be recovering. I'm going to pump up these numbers. We desperately need more education access. You can see right here, it's not that much. Religious schools are not that strong compared to, for example, public schools, but it's significantly better than having nothing. Look at that. It is half as strong as public schools. But hey, something is better than nothing, and on top of that, I also can actually report that there has been a significant change in the Catholic Church. We now have an abolitionist as the leader, and they are currently, since Britain has been harassing us, advocating for legacy slavery. We can make this move, and it won't agitate the landowners too much. Just, yeah, look at that. Instead, they will ignore it. They will say, hey, that's fine. We've imported so many just over the last 15 years. We can live with it. Let's try to pass this, because, my God, it would really help me get that trade going. Oh yeah, there you go. We can now actually integrate the Sulistas, which is of course a huge step because last of all, it is now just the Paulistas. The Sulistas are happy. We have basically brought them prosperity. I'm pretty sure, yeah, we essentially reached full employment right here. And let's take a look at this. The landowners are, yep, I mean, they kept the position that they had during the, I don't want to call it civil war, but the civil strife as well during the Regency period. Let's integrate them, and with that, make them full-blown Brazilians as well. The Sulista people of the Parana and Iguazu and the Cowboys of the South have reconciled with the central government and the growing Brazilian national movement. Sky, sun, earth, and color. These are what is most beautiful about our country, and more what makes Brazil the place where everything planted grows. But father, why can we not keep our hard earnings for ourselves? It's only fair since we toil for it. And who do you think makes your tools, my shoes, your mother's clothes? Brazil needs our cotton and coffee as much as we need their iron and milk. We are stronger together, son. I love that attitude, because remember, when they became independent, they were fighting for many, many reasons, but most importantly for autonomy. And now they have accepted that Pedro II and his dynasty do indeed rule over them. I'm a big fan of this, first of all, because it brings us so much closer to finishing this journal entry, which will give us an additional Pedro point. But for me, much more importantly, this now makes it so that I can actually focus on coffee and so on. I might stomp in some of the stuff right here, like the banana production, maybe even the dye plantations. Let me double check this, right? Do we have any kind of benefits for coffee? Oh, it's up here. It's not at all in Rio Grande do Sul, which just means that I actually have to build it in these locations. Parana. Ah, man, we are basically full employment. I need to build up in Mato Grosso. That is the coffee central here, at least going forward. And we do now have new elections, and yeah, I mean, we still have a conservative party that is unbelievably strong, but it looks as though the liberals are going to get another member because, well, the Catholic Church wants to go back in there. We're gonna see whether I will kick the conservatives out of government. We are currently passing legacy slavery. It's very important to me that we finish this, but I really would like a much more liberal government. I mean, Pedro II, other than having to suppress the industrialists and doing it fairly too late, I will admit it, he actually had a pretty good rule. I mean, you know, psychological affliction, you know, it's extreme. It's deeply negative, but at the same time, he's doing well. He is governing decently. He is passing legacy slavery. He has passed an education system. Things are currently working quite well. And look at that. He has received a son, Mario de Bragança. Wow, that is a terrible child. If he becomes a... God, Brazil is headed for dark times if he takes over. Alright, we have now passed legacy slavery, bringing us down, I think, a little bit, yep, in landowner power, which is huge. Not that we want to get rid of them, but I think it is important that, you know, we draw a line in the sand that basically just reads, hey, let's stop trading here. This will, of course, also change what our population growth looks like, because we're no longer importing African slaves, but at the same time, it might allow me to enter a different government. What is really important to me right now is that we somehow make the rural folk feel good about themselves, because they will give us, again, as I mentioned, yet another bonus to migration attraction, and I really need that bonus. We could try to go for frontier colonization. You know I can't do this. This is too much of a meme. You know I can't do that. If I do frontier colonization, they go up to 9, not to 10, so it's not technically enough. But their opinion goes up from... Oh, it will go down, actually. You know what, nonetheless, I will have our very first liberal government in ages. Now, we haven't had one in a long time, and the actual legitimacy here isn't doing so hot either. But I want to try to rehabilitate the intelligentsia. Diogo here in particular had a very difficult time. Verguero here hasn't really done much, and this new church leader, I mean, he has gotten a part of his goal. Of course, we aren't really in an abolitionist territory yet, but we did stop the trade just now. And now the question just is, where do we move from here? Again, I want to keep the landowners happy and make the rural folk happy, if we may. So let me just take a look at this. National militia, I can't say I like it. I don't want to destroy our dear friends there. I would kind of like towards protectionism, maybe. I wish we could do commercialized agriculture. I'm definitely not going to do homesteading, that's fine. You know what? Let's do frontier colonization. It gives us just enough so that we will actually get their bonus, if I am not mistaken. The end of an era. The last voyage of the Andorina. With the Brazilian slave trade banned and suppressed, at last, the mandate, be it real or imagined, of the Royal Navy to harass our shipping has passed, drastically improving the diplomatic relationship between our country and Great Britain. Oh, thank God. Thank God. We are pretty much, by the way, on the historical timeline, 1850, that's about it. Attention all seamen. Our most magnanimous emperor and the Cortes have ratified a new law forbidding the importation of new slaves. We've proven today that we are every bit the equal of Britain. As such, they no longer have authority to play the schoolyard bully upon our vassals. To mark this big day, every man may have double rations of rum tonight. The end of an era. Our ships will no longer be harassed by the Royal Navy in peacetime. Thank God. I really do appreciate that. Right, why are you just at 9? I hate that. Oh, and damn, here you go. That is early. It feels early, at least. The Brazilian succession. The unfortunate passing of Mario de Bragança has left Brazil without a male heir. Though Princess Isabel is by law next in line, many citizens, including the conservative elite, do not relish the thought of a woman on the throne. I feel very emboldened by this. I like this a lot. So, historically speaking, Pedro said Isabel can't hack it. I'm not sure whether he did this because, again, he believed that women couldn't hack it, or whether he believed that the country wouldn't buy that she could hack it. Either way, we are in a very different position. We are much more liberal when it comes to women's rights. Propertied women is pretty decent for Brazil of this time period. And maybe more importantly, he had to bargain with the conservatives. They are led by his friend. They are all royalists. They all have a good relationship with this monarchy, but he still managed and decided to actually side with the liberals for this legislative period. So I'm going to say, Isabel must be groomed to take the throne. This will deplete it, and then we can immediately restore it, of course. She appears in Brazil as the Brazilian succession to the Journal of Brazil, right? If completed, the progress bar of the magnanimous monarch journal entry will advance by 3. This is what we need. This is the big jump that we need to then actually ensure that indeed we can ban slavery and such without falling apart. Pedro de Bragança, wow, really losing popularity here. The landowner is much more negative, but oh, it will cost me my bonus. I am so sad about this. But yeah, I will groom her to indeed take the throne. Let me take a look at this. As long as we do not have legal guardianship, we just need to wait for 10 years. And then indeed, she will become the rightful heir of the empire. Oh, and we will lose our popularity bonus here, or well, malice. I see our way forward right here. She's an abolitionist, she's tactful, she's reserved. And yet, talk about a deadly war. The devastation here in Chongqing alone is absolutely insane. The Great Qing isn't gonna have a great time no matter what happens. Look at that. Jesus Christ. And oh yeah, that has to hurt. I assume the Great Qing is going to fall apart with the Boxer Rebellion, so maybe in 1910 or something like that. And now that that is a pretty certain thing, we can trade with them. I mean, that is now the big goal that we have, because this is a huge consumer market. Oh, and I'm gonna ignore this for the time being, but look at this. New Granada has declared a war against Peru, and the reason here is very simple. New Granada is pursuing Gran Colombia. This makes it so that they want to conquer this entire region, including Peruvian Pastaza. And if they take Peruvian Pastaza, I'm sure that they will also come for Ecuador if they can. I'm not sure whether they will win this though. What do they want in return here? The Peruvians, just war reparations. We have a minor war here. We're gonna just be observers. But I think we have to at some point pacify all of these folks right here. And oh boy, they are actually pushing in. Peru, the nation that we freed, is currently under assault. Now, as long as Bolivia isn't making any moves, I can live with this. But yeah, New Granada, surprisingly to me at the very least, is crushing them here. I mean, they do have the much bigger army. How are you doing? Arms for the Needy, pursuing Gran Colombia. Is anybody else pursuing Gran Colombia? This is just the playwright stuff, that's fine. I think they may be the only ones pursuing it. What about Argentina? Just Age of Caudillos, nothing. Okay, so New Granada wants to be the overlord in this region, and obviously, I can't really support that. And we have now finally passed frontier colonization. Right before this election is over, currently the conservatives are winning, but it's very tight. Now, what I'm very interested in is actually getting an interest here so that we can establish a colony right here. I'm gonna be honest with you, if we take over the land of the Guarani, I would argue that this essentially states that we want this entire thing in our, hegemony, either directly or as vassals. We are going to be a bit more expansionist. That much is certain. And look at what I spy right here. Indeed, the Prussians have now declared a war against Denmark for Schleswig-Holstein and Holstein. So this will become Prussian ruled directly, and this will become independent. After which then, of course, the war against Austria is suddenly viable. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I think the Prussians actually have the upper hand here because they are the ones that got the alliance with Russia. Meaning, Austria is probably gonna die. Oh, and we are getting Finns to Sao Paulo. Let's take a look at how many are actually migrating here. Currently not that many. I mean, there's just not that many Finns, but yeah, it looks as though maybe this is going to amount to like 50,000 if we break it down bit by bit here. They are migrating pretty well to all three of these, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm hoping for 50 to 100,000, but this still obviously isn't the big waves that I was hoping for. Oh, look at that. Paraguay actually is a claimant to La Plata. They will, without a doubt, attempt to, well, you know, claim the entire thing. We're gonna see how that goes. What are the relations with Argentina like? I mean, okay, they like everybody except us. I am indeed being very aggressive towards Paraguay because, well, this would be a pretty sweet border right here. Maybe I will ultimately be the aggressor. Alright, now I have been pretty slow with this. I didn't really zero in on any companies, and now I'm looking at it. Oh, I would like migration attraction, but we don't have any oil. Ooh, I would love migration attraction, really. I think what we're gonna go with is literally just Brazilian forestries. I'm gonna actually click on this right here. We're gonna hope that it pumps up the productivity of our logging camps. Otherwise, I may actually finally have to switch that. Let me just check this out. This guy is an abolitionist, Ireneo Evangelista de Sousa. Maybe I can lift the decree that made it so that the industrialists were not allowed in the logging industry, produce more wood, and then export that wood to bring this company up, because, well, it would be amazing to get more infrastructure and maximum infrastructure and so on. But now that we have a company, I think we can actually move on technology-wise, because I was eyeing going as quickly as we can to rubber mastication. Now, this is still gonna take quite a bit here, but rubber is rubber is rubber, and we have a lot of it, and the more I can export, the better that will, of course, be for our economy. I want to be an export economy, and this company will immediately support this as well. Oh, brah, Luis. Really? Landed voting? I don't know whether I can do that. I don't think I can do that. If you let me exchange landed voting for slavery banned, maybe. But as it stands... I mean, nobody really wants wealth voting, and in all fairness, wealth voting has put us into a position... I'm thinking about it now. I think landed voting may actually be the way this monarchy is built. We aren't friends of the industrialists, we just aren't. There's no two ways about it. And the landowners love landed voting, huh? I'm gonna go for it. Our economy is quite literally built on the agricultural sector. Why should you be able to vote just because you have money if you don't own land? It's unfair, but hey, the rich should rule, and in this case, the morally right rich should rule. And would you look at that, the Prussians are indeed marching in, they are winning, and that is going to finish Denmark off here in the German area. In the meantime, Modena has taken over 2 Sicilies, which is good for Modena. We're gonna see how this progresses. I mean, it's a peculiar situation. I hope that they unify long term, but you know, who knows how it goes. And this right here should now actually be a big migration. Armenian people are migrating here from the Ottoman Empire. What are we looking at? Give me a quick rundown. 72k, yeah. I think we're gonna see maybe 150,000 Armenians making it into our territory, and I love it because, my god, I need that population. Alright, and you know what? I'm actually go ahead and change the logging camp method now, making it so that probably we're gonna see maybe a shortage in tools, but I can import this, and we should see a massive increase in just how much wood we are actually producing. Let's take a quick look at this. Yep, that is not good. Okay, we gotta import some of these tools here. Don't worry about it. Okay, we got trade deals. We can definitely figure this out. And now we're also getting a Welsh mass migration to Paraíba. I think that's somewhere right here. There it is. Let's take a look at how big this is. I mean, the Welsh aren't that many people either, so yeah, okay, that is going to be pretty minor, but you can see the mass migrations are now coming in because, well, you know, hey, we are a very, very attractive country if you're European and Catholic. And now the Greeks are migrating here as well. And I'm going to be honest with you, oh, that is a shame. It borders so many other countries that they are also going to get a bit of migration at the very least. But the Greeks, that is always a ton of people willing to migrate. Yeah, look at that. Oh my god. We're going to get so much population in the hinterlands here that we can actually build it up with rubber when the time is nigh. Too bad that, yep, you can see right here, Bolivia is also collecting certain Greeks pops. Listen, it is what it is. I'll take it because, my god, our population is currently shooting through the roof. Look at this population curve. That is the age of mass migrations right here. And honestly, this may very well be the last election under wealth voting. Instead, we would be moving to landed voting, and I gotta be honest with you, I mean, it's a tight race right here. But no matter how I look at this, I am not sure whether I'm not eternally breaking the back of, you know, the liberal elite right here in Brazil. That is a chance, that is a risk that we are running here, but landed voting is definitely who this republic is right now. Let me just check this, right? It mostly just gives more strength to aristocrat votes. I think that is fine. I think I can actually live with this. I'm gonna make this shift and we're gonna see how it pans out. Hey, it is what it is. The landowners doubtlessly run this party. And like I said, what a tight election. In the end, the conservatives are actually winning this election. Yet again, confirming that this monarchy is screaming for a bit of a more restrictive North Italians. Let's go. A bit of a more restrictive voting law. Where are these North Italians going? My God, all this migration. How much are coming here? That is the really big question. Yeah, okay, I'm fine with that. The Papal States aren't that big, so obviously they're not sending that many people. And oh boy, we actually passed this before the election was over. Okay, wait a minute. Now I need to take a look at this. Now this will make the landowners incredibly happy. You can see it right here. Indeed, they are very, very happy indeed. And they're still only winning by like a hair width. So honestly, this looks pretty fine to me. It doesn't even change the balancing. It just makes it so that you can't be nouveau riche, because that might get you the idea of republicanism, and I mean, who the hell wants this, right? I'm gonna keep them in this exact constellation here. My friend is still leader of the Conservative Party. Once he is gone, we may have to choose different allies. Right now, we trust that man with our lives, and I think he trusts us with his. Now that we made the landowners as happy as we did, I don't think this would be a bad idea. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. We could go with appointed bureaucrats. This is basically the compromise. Our politics here in the Empire have been compromises left and right. The compromise here is we give you more landed voting because you are the ones that really understand what the electoral process should look like. But now we need to ensure that you don't just put your cousin in as your bureaucrat as well. Previously that still worked, but we have now rolled back somewhere else so we can roll forward right here. And I think what I'm gonna do is... I think I'm gonna move towards elected bureaucrats, because if we can't work with the industrialists, we most certainly can work with the petite bourgeoisie. And the petite bourgeoisie has been loyal for about 1,000,000 years now. So yeah, let's reward them the same way that we just rewarded the landowners, thanks to giving them, of course, landed voting. Oh, and Bosniaks are actually also now migrating here. That is huge. They're going to Minas Gerais, as always. Let's just take a look at this. Boom. Yeah, okay. I love Europeans migrating to Brazil. Everybody come to Brazil. Oh, and I just caught this pop-up. Population increased to 1 million in Rio de Janeiro. That is gorgeous. And yeah, just look at this population curve. You can see right here, this is when the first mass migrations actually started for us. Well, and if that isn't beautiful, we now have elected bureaucrats. And I think we've achieved a pretty good status quo. The one thing I think that the Emperor really wants to change still is cultural exclusion. But we fundamentally can't do that unless we ban slavery. And that's just not in the cards right now. Although, we now have achieved this right here. Heir to the Empire. Years of grooming have at last prepared Princess Isabel to take her father's throne. Even those most staunchly opposed have come to accept that the line of succession is secure. Though many have said that it is not my place, I will serve my country to the best of my ability, continuing the esteemed legacy of my beloved father. She's reserved, she's tactful, you love to see it. What this now means is that we are gaining 3 Pedro points right here in the magnanimous Monarch journal entry. And you just love to see it, because this potentially could now let me issue the golden law. She needs to grow up first, I think, but we might be looking at slavery actually getting banned. Potentially, maybe, possibly. We'll see, okay? That is definitely still up in the stars, but we are in a much better condition. The only reason here, obviously, his health is going to decline, so that is not good. But the only reason here to lose this, I think, would be if we were to go bankrupt, if we failed integrating the Brazilian nation, that kind of thing. I'm gonna be honest with you, I think we nailed it here. We have also, just for the record, gained so many migrations. 500,000 Greek people migrated here, 150,000 Bosniaks, 130,000 Bulgarians, 123,000 Albanians, and I think they are still migrating here to begin with. We are a migration nation. There are no two ways about this. Look at this. Oh, I love the payoff. Listen, anyway, I'm gonna leave you right here. We have now achieved migration and we have achieved Isabel. We have taught the industrialists a lesson and they got to return as abolitionists because that is the new raison d'etre, I think, for the monarchy in Brazil. Tomorrow I will try my best to actually abolish slavery, if we can. It might end up in confrontation with the landowners, but Luis here surely will watch our back. Anyway, I will leave you right here and I'll see you later, alligator.